The alpha cleavage of photoexcited ketones and aldehydes is called the Norrish type 1 reaction. And the basic idea of this reaction type is that the photoexcited carbonyl compound undergoes a homolytic bond cleavage at the bond that connects the carbonyl carbon to the alpha carbon. And this results in a radical pair, or if the alpha carbon and carbonyl carbon are tethered via a linker, in other words, if the starting material is cyclic, we end up with a biradical. As we saw in intramolecular hydrogen abstraction, the fate of this radical pair includes a variety of possible processes, possible secondary processes. We'll survey some of those in this video and talk about structural reactivity relationships, as we have already for a number of reactions of photoexcited carbonyl compounds, trying to ascertain the effect of spin multiplicity, excited state electron configuration, and experimental variables on the outcomes of these alpha cleavage reactions. So, photoexcited carbonyls may undergo alpha cleavage, and this reaction is also known as the Norrish type 1 reaction. In terms of basic electronic movements, this involves homolytic cleavage of one of the bonds between the alpha carbon and the carbonyl carbon in a photoexcited ketone or aldehyde. This cleavage gives rise to a radical pair intermediate, or a biradical, if the starting material is cyclic. And this diradical structure can undergo a variety of secondary processes following the primary process, which is this cleavage of the carbon-carbon bond. Because a radical electron ends up on the carbonyl carbon, one of the radicals generated in this process is necessarily an acyl radical. And under certain circumstances, the acyl radical can undergo decarbonylation to form just an alkyl radical or a carbon-centered radical. Generally speaking, this only occurs when R1, the group linked to the carbonyl carbon through the bond that does not cleave in the primary process, is also associated with the stable radical. So this might be a tert-butyl group, or an allyl group, or a benzyl group that can support radical character on the alpha carbon linked to the carbonyl carbon. When decarbonylation occurs, we end up with two carbon-centered radicals that can undergo many of these same processes: radical-radical coupling, addition to unsaturated pi systems, and disproportionation. Now, alpha cleavage is yet another primary process originating from a photoexcited state of a carbonyl, and so we have this question of when alpha cleavage occurs in preference to the other myriad steps we've seen, for example, hydrogen abstraction. And the basic idea here, a general principle to keep in mind, is that formation of a relatively stable radical is required for alpha cleavage to take place. The resulting non-acyl radical must be at least secondary in substitution patterns, secondary or tertiary, and or be associated with resonance. Right, so allylic, benzylic radicals can also be formed. And the efficiency, the quantum yield, and the rate of alpha cleavage parallel the stability of the non-acyl radical and the bond dissociation energy of the broken bond. The weaker the bond, the faster the alpha cleavage process. And this should make intuitive sense, because the weaker this bond is, the more thermodynamically favorable will be the alpha cleavage process, or the less thermodynamically disfavorable, we might say. The primary process for alpha cleavage, if we're talking about an n-pi star state, the primary process involves, yet again, that n-orbital acting as a half-filled electrophilic SOMO, with the sigma here Cr2 bond acting as the electron source, or the filled orbital. It's also possible to imagine a similar interaction with the pi orbital in the pi star state, which is relatively low in energy and half-filled, making it electrophilic. We would expect this interaction to be much weaker than the sigma Cr to N interaction because of the geometry going on. The sigma and pi orbitals are more or less perpendicular to one another. This tells us intuitively that the reaction should be faster from n-pi star states than pi star states, and we'll see if that gets borne out in practice over the next few slides. All right, so following that primary process, what kind of secondary processes can take place? Well, a variety of processes of the resulting radical pair are possible, and here we see two examples with a variety of different possible products arising from these two examples. The first three products that you see listed here arise from disproportionation of the radicals, and this involves an atom transfer process, or a shift of the radical electrons that leads to two closed shell species from the two open shell species generated after the primary process. So for example, we can generate benzaldehyde and isobutylene through a hydrogen transfer process from the tert-butyl radical to this acyl radical. This produces isobutylene and benzaldehyde directly. We may also see tert-butane coming in through disproportionation between two tert-butyl radicals, with one tert-butyl radical serving as a hydrogen donor. Here that's this molecule on the right, and the other tert-butyl radical serving as the hydrogen acceptor. So we can see here that transfer of a hydrogen atom would produce, again, isobutylene, as well as tert-butane, which is also observed. The other thing that's very common is radical-radical coupling. And so, for example, this 1,2-diketone can be formed through radical-radical coupling of the two acyl radicals with one another. And this sterically crowded butane can be formed through the coupling of the tert-butyl radicals. The distribution of these products is in general hard to predict, but again, at least we can get a general sense of where the products come from, and we can describe the reactivity that led to the generation of this diverse array of products. Thinking through the spin multiplicity in this process is critical because singlet states yield singlet radical pairs. These can rapidly recombine to form the starting material in a process that overall looks like non-radiative decay of the singlet state, cleavage of the carbonyl carbon alpha carbon bond, followed by immediate reformation of that bond. Triplet states cannot do this because the spins of the unpaired electrons are now parallel from the triplet state. There's the opportunity for this triplet radical pair to separate into distinct acyl and carbon-centered radicals. These could then go off and do other processes essentially on their own, independent of one another. And of course, once these are separated, spin flipping is much easier since there's no interaction between the unpaired electrons anymore. And we alluded to this idea earlier, but I wanted to show you a picture of this key orbital interaction that drives the greater reactivity of n-pi star states in alpha cleavage relative to pi-pi star states. The carbon-carbon sigma bonding orbital contains 2 electrons. It's a standard filled natural bond orbital. And the half-filled orbital on oxygen is electrophilic because it's relatively low in energy. As such, there's an orbital interaction that we can represent as sigma to n that really drives this process of alpha cleavage. As this occurs, we can actually imagine 2 different types of acyl radicals forming. In one type of acyl radical, this bond angle, carbon-carbon oxygen, remains 120 degrees. This is what we might call the bent acyl radical. And in this radical, we essentially imagine the oxygen is completely standard, 2 lone pairs, carbonyl oxygen, and this unpaired electron is occupying a sigma orbital, something like a hybrid orbital that looks like this. And the other possibility involves that unpaired electron occupying a pi orbital such that the central carbon becomes sp hybridized and we're dealing with a linear acyl radical. In this structure, the unpaired electron occupies a p orbital above and below the plane of the screen, and the pi bond between carbon and oxygen is perpendicular to that p orbital. As such, we're thinking about that central carbon as sp hybridized. Without getting too into the weeds on this, I'll just state that the bent radical has lower energy. This is the ground state of the acyl radical, and the linear geometry is associated with higher energy and an excited state of the acyl radical. Now let's build a state correlation diagram to see how the excited n-pi star and pi-pi star states can evolve into these various acyl radical products. To start the process of drawing the state correlation diagram for alpha cleavage, let's lay down the orbital structures of the ground and excited states of the reactants, the ketone and the products, the acyl radical and tert-butyl radical, and see how they correlate with one another. And to do this, we're going to think about the reaction coordinate as involving a plane of symmetry throughout the lengthening of this carbon-carbon bond, and we're going to think about whether and how many we're dealing with in terms of sigma electrons and pi electrons, with sigma electrons being symmetric with respect to the molecular plane of symmetry and pi electrons being antisymmetric with respect to that plane. So I've added a structure for the pi-pi star excited state here, and what we're going to do is count the number of sigma and pi electrons in each of these states on the reactant side and the product side, and use the pretty neat idea that to correlate the states, all we need to do is match the states with the same numbers of sigma and pi electrons. So I'm just going to state, for starters, that the pi-pi star state has 4 sigma electrons that we're interested in and 2 pi electrons. And let's look at the structures to confirm this. So first, let's focus on the electrons in the sigma plane, symmetric with respect to the plane of symmetry. We have the carbon-carbon bond that will break as we move toward the products, and we have the 2 electrons in the n orbital that are in the sigma system in this structure. 4 sigma electrons. We also have an electron in the pi orbital. It is a pi star state after all, and an electron in the pi star orbital, and these are antisymmetric with respect to the plane of symmetry. 2 pi electrons total. Let's do the same for the n pi star state and the ground state of the ketone, the same electron counting exercise. In the n pi star state, we have 2 electrons in the pi bonding orbital. Here they're drawn on oxygen, just to avoid violating the octet rule, I guess, at the carbonyl carbon. Those are perpendicular to the molecular plane and antisymmetric with respect to that plane of symmetry. And we have the odd electron out in the pi star orbital that's also antisymmetric with respect to that molecular plane of symmetry. So 3 pi electrons total in this molecule, and we also have 3 sigma electrons, the 2 in the carbon-carbon bond that's going to break, and the 1 in the n orbital, 3 sigma electrons. In the ground state, we've got 2 sigma electrons in the n orbital and 2 more sigma electrons in the cc sigma orbital for a total of 4 sigma electrons. We also have 2 electrons in the pi bonding orbital for a total of 2 pi electrons. On the product side, we want to consider both radical species in each state, the tert-butyl radical and the acyl radical. And we can see that the difference here is linear versus bent. The higher energy structure is linear, the lower energy structure is bent, and they differ in their numbers of sigma and pi electrons. If we focus first on, say, the sigma electrons in both structures, well, we have the odd electron in the tert-butyl radical, which is in the plane of symmetry, symmetric with respect to the plane of symmetry, we would say. And in the ground state bent structure, we have this odd electron that is in the plane of the molecule, or in the symmetry plane, symmetric with respect to the plane of symmetry as well. We also, in the bent state, have 2 electrons in the carbonyl oxygen's n orbital. And so the total number of sigma electrons here is 4. In the linear state, there are 2 p orbitals overlapping to create a sort of pi bond, but that lives in the plane of symmetry, or that is symmetric with respect to the plane of symmetry. That's why it's labeled sigma. And we're going to count those electrons toward the sigma count as well. So we've got 3 sigma electrons in the linear state, 4 sigma electrons in the bent state. If we now count pi electrons, well, the key to the linear acyl radical is that this electron is in a p orbital, perpendicular to the electrons highlighted in red, and antisymmetric with respect to the plane of symmetry. So that's a pi electron. And these 2 electrons here are also pi electrons occupying the pi bonding orbital between carbon and oxygen. So we have a total of 3 pi electrons here. And if we now count pi electrons in the bent acyl radical situation, we've got a pair right here in the carbon-oxygen pi bond for a total of 2 pi electrons there. And now to correlate the states with each other, we simply look at where the numbers match. We've got 4 sigma and 2 pi in the ground state. This correlates with the bent acyl radical situation with 4 sigma electrons and 2 pi electrons in the ground state of the radical pair. The n pi star state actually correlates with the linear acyl radical, 3 sigma electrons and 3 pi electrons in both the starting n pi star state and the final linear acyl radical plus tert-butyl radical state. As far as the pi star state goes, notice its electron counts, 4 sigma and 2 pi. This correlates with the ground state of the acyl radical and tert-butyl radical pair. And that's interesting because we now see that there's going to be a surface crossing right here, where the pi star state intersects with the n pi star state. This intersection point provides an opportunity for the n pi star state to head down to the bent acyl radical through a surface crossing or a surface jump. Now let's look at the full-blown state correlation diagram, which is essentially this, just a little bit more realistic. For example, based on calculated energies of the various states. Qualitatively, these 2 diagrams are identical. Notice we have the triplet pi star state correlated with the bent acyl radical. The bent state is lower in energy, and we can tell it's a bent state because it's labeled sigma, indicating that both unpaired electrons are in sigma orbitals. We can see that right here. So this is the bent state. In the linear state, the acyl radical's odd electron is in a pi-type orbital, which is why this is labeled sigma pi. This is the linear acyl radical state. We see that correlated with the n pi star states, whether singlet or triplet. And we see that the ground state correlates with the bent acyl radical situation as well. The important conclusion from the actual state correlation diagram is that we should expect an activation barrier for reaction of n pi star states, whether we're talking about singlet or triplet. In the case of the triplet, there is a avoided crossing right here that allows this to head down to the bent acyl radical, but that's associated with a hump, an activation barrier in the reaction. And for the singlet state, well, it's correlated with the higher energy linear acyl radical, and it will head there first. And so there's going to be an uphill climb in energy for the singlet n pi star state in this reaction. Because the multiplicity here differs, singlet and triplet, the singlet n pi star state cannot jump, or has a very low probability of jumping, from its potential energy surface to the triplet pi star surface. To close talking about alpha cleavage, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that cyclobutanones undergo famously rapid alpha cleavage reactions due to the ring strain associated with this four-membered ring, and so they readily open to form diradicals via alpha cleavage following photoexcitation. Singlet excited cyclobutanone in its n pi star state opens to a singlet diradical structure. This can lose carbon monoxide to form ultimately cyclopropane after radical-radical coupling. It can also undergo an elimination process to form ketene and ethylene. Notice that this is a radical elimination process occurring here. These processes are associated with a diradical state, in fact a singlet diradical state derived from the excited state, but a Zwitter ionic state can also form, and this does some interesting things. Bond formation between the positive CH2 and negative oxygen atoms leads to this alpha oxygen carbene structure, which can add alcohols, for example, to give acetals. And one interesting observation of the reactivity here is that all of these processes are stereospecific with respect to C4, which is this carbon right here. This means that any process that, for example, this singlet diradical does or the Zwitter ionic structure does must be extremely rapid, since racemization, rotation to change the configuration at that stereocenter must be slower than any of these processes.